Gabrielle, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to chat with you.
This will be fun. Can you give the audience and myself a little bit of background about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Gabrielle, Gabrielle Hempel. I work in cybersecurity. Have held quite a few jobs in cybersecurity, but currently a security operations strategist at Exabeam. So I know that's one of those roles where people are like, "So what do you actually do?" And it's a little bit of everything, honestly. I work across mostly our SOC and application security teams, but also a little bit with GRC. So pretty much just anything to do with our internal security operations, I have a little bit of a hand in. So,
So, what got you interested in the field?
that's one of my favorite stories. So I did not go to school for cybersecurity. I didn't really even know that it was a career option. Back in the day when you're 18 and you're made to
Yep.
decide what you want to do for the rest of your life, right? Um, I majored in psychology and neuroscience, actually. So I worked in genetic science and pharmaceuticals for a couple of years, and that's actually how I ended up getting into cybersecurity. I was working with medical device manufacturers on medical device regulations, and um, there were a lot of medical devices that continued to have exploits pop
Yeah.
up. And I didn't know anything about the field at that time. I was like, why are people trying to exploit the, like, what is happening? Why is this something that, first of all, is connected to the internet, but second of all, like, why are people trying to exploit it, And then you kind of fall down the rabbit hole and start learning about cybersecurity. And then a couple of years later, you're suddenly working in it. So
Yeah. And medical devices was one of the, to me, always one of those really scary. It's one thing if my connected doorbell can be exploited, that's a little unnerving. But when medical devices can start getting exploited, that's life threatening.
yeah, yeah. And there were some, back in the day, I think we really put medical technology and some of the health innovation ahead of security. I mean, as we're seeing with a lot of
Yeah.
IoT devices at this point. And yeah, it was a scramble. It was like, oh gosh, like we have these devices that can do all these really cool things medically, and now we need to scramble to secure them because we didn't think about that, when we were building them. So
Yeah, and I don't like in some sense I do, and I don't fault people like that. Like their specialty is I'm trying to help people with a medical condition, not I'm trying to keep cybersecurity, have the best cybersecurity on the planet on my pacemaker or whatever it is.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just not even part, I think, of the thought. And that's why there's a lot more emphasis, I think, now on, secure code and secure development. That's a big thing in the industry now. But yeah, it's one of those things that I don't think crosses the mind of a lot of people that are making these connected devices and things along those lines. So
Yeah, it's definitely historically has often not been the first thought of security first. It's usually security second, security third, or maybe
yes.
security fourth.
Or like 10th. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
So one of the questions I always try to ask my guests in cybersecurity is: Have you ever been involved in an incident of cybersecurity incident or a scam or a fraud? Because if you and I can't get it right 100% of the times, I don't want our audience to feel ashamed or embarrassed or think that there's something wrong with them because this is an issue for everybody. So do you have a story about that you can tell?
I absolutely do. And this is one of those, it's an interesting one because there's not really much that we could have done about it. But I think I was in college and was still living with my parents at that point, and they went to file their taxes, on TurboTax, as one does. And they were like, "Oh, you can't file, you already did." And my parents were like, "Excuse me? We did not file our taxes yet." And I just remember like things moved really quickly after that, which was really crazy because I barely knew what taxes were too. I was in college. So yeah, all of a sudden like we had to sit down with the IRS, and they gave us like these crazy pins, and like we had to sit down and do our return with them like manually so they could make sure that I guess we weren't trying to pull the wool over their eyes, and that it was actually the case of some like a stolen identity or something along those lines. But yeah, and then they put us on like monitoring for years after that, as far as like our social security numbers and things along those lines. And like in order to submit taxes after that, I had to like put a special PIN number in, like so it wouldn't happen again. And it was really crazy. And it's just one of those things that like I think it happens more often than
Yeah.
not like in the grand scheme of things, but I think to a lot of people it will happen to you at some point in your lifetime or something similar to that, right? Where you suddenly have a case of fraud or identity theft or a scam or something along those lines. And I don't think there's if anyone tells you that they've never fallen victim to something like that, then I mean I doubt it, but
I usually go with the cybersecurity incident is everybody has been a victim of a cybersecurity incident. It's whether or not they know it.
yes. And I always say it's a matter, when talking about security, even I say it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
There's a lot of organizations that are like, oh, like if this were to happen, we have a contingency plan. And no, it's a matter of when. It will happen one day. The scale and everything is to be determined, but um, it's going to happen. And that's kind of how I feel about scams and fraud and everything
Yes.
too. It's people are like, oh, aren't you really worried, especially working in security, about your information being out there? And I'm like, it's out there. Like, I know it is. Like, my social security number is out there. All of my information is out there. And it's more just staying vigilant and making sure that I keep an eye on how it's being used, right? So,
Yep. It's being aware of when it's getting used inappropriately and then trying to take action from there.
yes, definitely.
So let's talk about scams. I know that that is an area that interests you. What is kind of your take on the scam environment currently?
Well, it's pretty wild. There's definitely some patterns I've started to notice. Working in security, I stay super on top of a lot of the cyber attacks that you see in the news and the things that are out there. And the thing that I've found that's really interesting is a lot of the scams that you're seeing kind of start to blend with that bigger
Yeah.
cybercrime ecosystem. And there's a lot of the same tactics being used, I think, across some of your scams that you see, but also like some of your cybercrime, like phishing emails are huge. They're used for everything. I think of it like a pry bar to like get into a house, right? Like
Yeah.
that's your way in, and then you can do what you want from there. Um, but yeah, phishing opens the doors, and you see that a lot with not only like big cyber attacks. A lot of those stem from a phishing email, but also your scams. I Sometimes I go through my junk email just like or my spam folder just for a laugh, and it's insane like the amount that is caught in there that I just don't even see, right? So
Yeah. It's
there's
it's what makes it to our inbox is usually only the tip of the iceberg of what's actually getting sent to us.
absolutely, it's crazy. There's so much. And some of them like I don't know, you look at it and you're like, are you even trying? And then there's others where you're like, that looks legit. And it takes you a couple of minutes. You sit there and you stare at it like, okay, that's convincing. You did a good job at that one.
Are you generally tending to see higher quality phishing emails these days?
Yes, because AI has made it much easier for people to, I think, craft more convincing verbiage and things along those lines in the email and just kind of find a better way in. So even internally, just some of the phishing emails that we see reported, or you look at them and you're like, wow, that's pretty convincing. Sometimes it takes a couple of us, like we look for a little bit and we're like, yeah, that's after digging in, you can tell, but it's on the surface, it's very convincing. So
Yeah, I've definitely started like I've definitely gotten a couple that were I know I'm not banking with that bank, so I know it's not a legitimate
yeah.
email, but it was okay that they're pulling the right images, everything. It looks like a perfectly formatted, grammatically correct, current logos. Like it was always funny when you got the bank email from like 5 logos ago. It's like, well, they haven't used
Hmm.
that logo in 20 years. Like, what the heck? Uh, but they've got some of them have gotten incredibly good looking.
Yeah, I got one a couple weeks ago and I ended up like kind of circumventing it and reaching out to the team directly because I was like, I don't know if this is real or not. And it was a little suspect, but it was pretending to be from X or Twitter. And it was about like a DMCA and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
it was all very official. And even like the return address was right and things along those lines, but it didn't add up. A lot of the content and stuff like that, I was like, this is strange. And I actually reached out to their legal team and they were like, yeah, that didn't come from us. And I was like, aha, that was crafty. And I saw some people that actually got kind of a similar email that did think it was legitimate. And these are all cybersecurity people. So
Was
uh,
it the one like you've used an image that's a copyrighted image of one of our clients and we need you to link to
yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah. And I've gotten those somewhat legitimately before too, right? So it's hard to tell. But it was very well crafted. It took me a while. I sat there and looked at it and started poking at it for a little bit. And yeah, they're getting very, very good. So
Yeah,
um
and that's one of those challenges because, like, if you're a business owner and you get something that looks legal, you don't just want to go, "Ah, I'm sure it's a scam," and throw it away because it potentially, like, it requires some level of attention as opposed to, well, I don't have a website. Of course, I didn't put a picture that belongs to somebody else on my website because I don't even have one.
yeah, yeah, it was very well targeted. And it was really interesting. But yeah, we're seeing not only better attempts, but again, it's kind of blending with that bigger ecosystem. A lot of what you're seeing, like your big cyber actors doing, so like living off the land, impersonation, things along those lines, domain spoofing, you're seeing a lot
Yeah.
of that in your fraud and your scams as well. So it's interesting the kind of parallels.
When it comes to the phishing emails, do you think because the grammar is getting better and the quality is getting better, would you expect more of them to start getting through the spam filters, or is this, kind of the blacklists and well, we know this is coming from a compromised computer or a fake domain name? Is most of it being able to kept at bay, or is it gonna? Should we expect to start seeing it slip through the filters more?
That's a really good question. I've seen some, I don't know if I've really seen an uptick in what's come through the spam filters. So it seems like, the email companies are doing a good job at staying
Yeah.
on top of a lot of what's going on. But I think that, if AI continues at the pace it's continuing at, we could definitely see an uptick in that just because it's getting so much easier to do
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And it's harder to be in the reactive state, right? So
Do you see kind of the defense? Like, I always worry about this, AI versus AI. So if you have defensive AI,
mhm.
like it needs to get it right because you don't, and that's one of the challenges with any kind of filtering is you never want to let something valid get rejected in the attempts to keeping all the bad stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said AI versus AI, it just made me think of BattleBots, watching BattleBots. I don't know. That was like the image that came to mind. It was funny. I said last week I was talking a little bit about AI, and one of the things that I thought was interesting was, and I read this somewhere and kind of adapted it, but with AI, offensive AI just has to be effective, and defensive AI has to be accurate.
Yes.
And that was a really nice way of putting it, I thought, and it made a lot of sense. And I hadn't really thought of it in that manner before. But yeah, it's so true because you don't want to suddenly start filtering out executives'
Yeah.
emails and somebody it's like those things where yeah, if you cut off access to anybody, someone will scream, right? And it'll be someone important that has the ability to uh make or break your career, right? So
Yeah. It's that challenge is that when you're on the defensive, you have to get it right 100% of the time, but
mhm.
the adversaries just need to get it right 1% of the time.
Yeah, yeah. They just need one person to click and and you've got your access, right? But on the defensive side, if you're filtering everything out, then that's not good. So
Yeah. I know one of the kind of I think I'm starting to think that it's probably more incorrect, and maybe it was never correct to begin with, was that the vast majority of online scams are targeting those in their retirement, 65 and older, that we've got to protect our grandparents because everybody's trying to get our grandparents. And I think there's a certain amount of validity to that in the sense of they may be less accustomed with the technology and they have more to lose, but I'm starting to see things that seem to indicate that they really aren't the ones that are most frequently caught by scams.
no, and that was the most interesting thing about a lot of this FTC data to me, because I always thought that too. And you always see like the workshops for retirees on how to keep your data safe. And there's books about it out there, and there's webinars and everything about how older people need to be aware of
Yeah.
these cyber scams. And suddenly all this information comes out, and it's not that it's not the case, but I think there's other groups that are proving to be more susceptible, right? Yeah, the surprising thing, I just wanted to double check on the ages, but yeah, individuals between ages of 20 and 29 are most frequently targeted. But I believe that they were the most frequent to fall victim as well, right? And then I think the older group spent more money
Yeah.
overall. But yeah, I found that very interesting. And I was trying to rack my brain as to why that could be the case, because these are digital natives, right?
Yeah.
They're people that have 20 to 29. You've grown up with the internet already in place, and you've grown up only knowing smartphones for the most part. And I feel like that was really surprising to me, because it should be people that understand, that fraud is a thing and have grown up with that, and that is not seeming to be the case. And I was trying to think of why. I think that some of it is they've grown up comfortably with
Yeah.
technology. It's always been available. It's always just worked. I don't know about you, but I like growing up, it was kind of like the Y2K era and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like technology was kind of there, but you also like I learned to be patient because I had to use dial-up, right? And I learned about antivirus because I had LimeWire. So just things like that, right? You kind of have
And
to
about
be
half the audience has no idea what LimeWire is.
I know. And that makes me so sad because that was the golden age. Um, but you really had to kind of learn how the technology worked, because it didn't always work the way it was
Yeah.
supposed to from the get-go. And I think a lot of the technology we have now just makes it so easy. It's plug and play. And yeah, maybe that's why. Maybe it's just it's always there. It's always worked. There hasn't been the distrust uh in the technology, and maybe they're falling victim to scams. I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, like the perception I always have is that people that are, let's say, 70 and older have gross generalization here, are
Mhm.
more leery of seem to be more leery of certain technologies. They're like,
Mhm.
I'd rather go in and deal with the bank teller than use the ATM machine, let alone taking a photo of my check. Um, and so I don't know that it's so much like I don't see it so much as an issue of uh, younger people are necessarily more susceptible, but younger people are spending more of their lives online. That
Yeah.
it's I was jokingly talking with somebody and they're like, what's a check? Like
Oh,
they've never written a check in their life,
no.
because they'd always, oh, I'll do an electronic funds transfer, I'll do Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, pay, they had never needed to write a check because like, oh, rent my apartment, I just do it online, it's an electronic funds transfer. And so I think when you're so used to everything being digital and everything being online, there's a familiarity and a comfort with doing everything online. And so there's less skepticism of, well, why is this online? Why are they trying to do this online? I get it. I want everything to be online.
Yeah.
It
I would
makes
love everything to be
it
online.
makes it like there is an advantage that it makes so many things simpler. But
Mhm.
when we're so accustomed to it, we're so used to it. I think that's where the falling victim to it or falling prey to it uh, just has a there's more of an opportunity, not necessarily that scammers are any more effective in dealing with younger people. It's just, well, when you're online, 18 hours a day as opposed to 2 hours a day, there's just more opportunity to be scammed.
Mhm. Yeah, and just the younger the younger people that are getting phones too. I think Riley Ann had mentioned actually the other day when we were talking, that like there are people that her daughter's friends have phones, and they're like 7 and 8 years old,
Yeah.
right? And like when if I had had a phone when I was 7, I would have done so many dumb things. Like so I think there's some of that too. There's just the inherent trust in technology. Um, and we're getting technology younger. I think there's less you've got less life experience when you're being handed technology, and that's some of it as well. So
Yeah. Do you think do you think there is a case to be made for, I don't want to say taking technology away from younger people, but I think we very easily just give yeah, here's a piece of tech, and I'm not going to pass along any warnings to you as part of the process. It's just here.
Yeah, maybe better education surrounding some of the threats out there. I don't know. And it's again, it's not one size fits all either.
Yeah.
Like the scams that are going to target some of your young kids are going to be really different than the scams that are targeting some of the old people. Presumably. I mean, maybe not, but
Yeah, if I was 20 years old and got a call about Medicare Part C, uh, like, no, not for me.
what are all these Medicare parts? I feel like they add a new one every week. I get commercial. I watch a lot of HGTV, right? So I get like all the old people scam commercials, like all the Medicare, and I keep getting like funeral home commercials recently. I'm feeling a little like called out. Maybe I need to find a new channel to watch.
But like, yeah, I mean, I think, not to say that those things are necessarily scams, but there are definitely things that will resonate with different
Yeah.
audiences. I mean, someone who's 90 years old in a retirement home is not gonna care about concert tickets. Hey, here's where we can get discount concert tickets. They're like, I haven't left the house in 2 years. I'm not gonna, like, that's not me. So there's definitely things that are going to resonate with different audiences better. And that's where I kind of, the AI makes me a little bit, starts to make me nervous, is that
Mhm.
as the scammer platforms have more information about us, they'll be able to target us better. And gone will be the days of the Nigerian prince scams and, hey, I went to high school with you. It was this high school and it was, this year, and we both knew this same person.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
scary. I don't like that. Although, that just made me realize I haven't been reached out to by a foreign royal promising me a lot of money in a while, and I'm kind of sad now. Is it me? Is it a me problem?
All these things ebb and flow.
Okay,
Give it a
so there'll
few
be
weeks.
another wave.
Now that we have recorded it, an episode where we've talked about Nigerian prince scams, it will be in the ether, and you will suddenly get 100 of them in the next 24 hours.
Good. That sounds good. I've missed him a little bit. Good conversation.
Do you ever play around? Are you one of those people who do you interact with the scammers from time to time?
Sometimes depends on my mood and how annoyed I am by the scam, honestly. I try not to engage just because it's not going to do any of us any good. But
Yeah,
at the same time, I have a couple friends who are very, um, very responsive to those kinds of things, and it's entertaining. They work in the industry as well. One of them is really into voice cloning and that AI kind of stuff, and he's done a lot of really interesting things with that in response to scammers, and that's been kind of fun to watch. So,
yeah. That's, I think that's more for entertainment purposes than actually being
yeah.
able to stop anything.
Yeah, no, it's not stopping anybody. It's more just annoying them and wasting their time. So,
So, are there any particular recent trends that you've seen of kind of like, I haven't seen this type of scam or this type of phishing attempt before, that you're now starting to see more of?
I mean, the voice cloning and the deep fakes, I feel like have been really big, and those are difficult because I don't think the detection is really effective for those
Yeah.
yet. And I know we had one that there was an article published about a little bit ago, and I wasn't part of like the team that encountered it, but we had somebody show up for an interview that was a deep fake.
Oh,
And
interesting.
luckily, the folks doing the interview caught it super quickly. And they were like, they started asking about, things in the person's background, like behind them, and saying like, hey, what is that thing? And just asking like more personal things. And it was really, really apparent very quickly that it was somebody that was a deep fake, right? But
Interesting.
you've heard a lot of these stories, and that is one of the trends that is most concerning to me because some of them are extremely convincing. There's been times I've seen videos and I'm like, oh, like, is that real? And you sit there and you watch it a couple times and you can't tell. And same with the voice cloning. I had the one friend that I have that is really into that kind of thing. He wanted to see how long it took him to make like convincing voice clone of one of our mutual friends, and it took him like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was just playing around with an AI video generation tool the other
mhm.
day, and on like 3 minutes of training, it was able to present a passable, like, oh, that looks like me and it sounds like me, and it's kind of got some of my manners. And my wife wouldn't, my wife would recognize that it's not me,
Yeah,
but someone who knows me casually or is just an acquaintance might go, it's just a low quality. It's just the video quality isn't very good. That it wasn't,
yeah,
10 years ago, like even when I started the podcast, I was always, oh, ask the person to jump on a video with you. And if they refuse, then yeah, if they won't do a FaceTime call with you, it's a scam. Or they won't jump on a Zoom with you, it's a scam. Um, and then it was like, well, if you get on there and the quality's bad, or the ears look funny, the eye the chin looks a little bit wonky. Yeah, but nowadays the AI clones of people are, without a whole lot of work, are pretty passable.
yeah. You used to be able to tell because of the fingers too, right? Like they would like put like 10 fingers on the person,
They
and
got
now
six
it's
fingers.
exactly, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's definitely AI generated. Now it's like, oh, like I can't tell. So yeah, that's one of the trends that is super concerning to me. And just I don't know. So one of the interesting things that I was trying to think of too, not to talk politics, but we all know what's going on with the
Yep.
tariffs and things along those lines. And one of the scams that I think that I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of other people see a lot, are like the USPS, the package delivery,
Yep.
the you need to pay us money so that we'll release your package kind of scams. And I can see that skyrocketing with the tariffs too. It's a perfect ploy.
Yeah.
Oh, you ordered something from China, give us money before we deliver it to you, right? And
Particularly
no
like
brainer.
if it looks like it's coming from Amazon and it just says, "Hey, your recent package um, was shipped from China, expedited, so it'll get here next day. But because of the tariffs, we need to collect the tariff because yeah, it came in after it came into the
Hmm.
country before the tariff, or like the timing works out just right. That, well, the tariffs weren't in effect when you ordered it, but they
Yeah.
are in effect now that it's coming into the country. You need to pay this fee, or if you don't want to pay it, you need to go here and fill out this form. Yeah, I mean, the scammers are getting better and better at using news and current
Hmm.
events to make things seem more reasonable.
Yeah, and I feel like we really started to see that, with COVID. There were a lot of scams that started to pop up around COVID
Yeah.
with vaccines and testing and just things along those lines. And I feel like it's just kind of been taking off ever since that worked. So now we're doubling down on it, right?
Yep. So the advice is, so what's the advice for people?
I know not everybody's in cybersecurity. One of the approaches that I do like is, we talk a lot about zero trust in cybersecurity. And I
Yeah.
think that we live in an era at this point where consumers need to adopt zero trust in communication. Like, you need to look at all communication that you have as potentially a scam. And it's unfortunate. I don't love living that way,
Yeah.
but we're in that era. Again, I think it's healthy to remain skeptical. If you didn't initiate a conversation, I would say assume it's suspect.
Yeah.
I get like 3 texts a day, like, "Hey, are you interested in this job? Do you want to hear more about this job I have for you?" And it's like, no, nobody would reach out to me over text over like a spoof number to ask me about
Yeah.
that, you know? Um, so yeah, and nothing is free. If somebody offers you something free, you should be so
Yeah.
skeptical because there is absolutely nothing in life that is actually free. So yeah, the just being wary, staying on top of things, with the voice phishing and that kind of thing, that's really hard. But I would say if you are suspect of that, if you feel like something's not right, like hang up and call the person on the number that you know is theirs,
Yeah.
or I don't know, like I've seen some people develop like code words with their family,
My wife and
kind of
I
like,
do.
yeah. And that's a great idea because, or, ask a question that only that person would know an answer to, something along those lines, just to verify. It's unfortunate, but it is the world that we live in these days, and you can never be too careful. So,
Yeah, and like 100% agree. Um, and I feel like scammers are even trying to exploit people's decency.
hmm
And like this really like the first time I got it was a um, hey, I'm at the golf range. Where are you? And I initially was like, I started to respond back. I'm like, oh, you've got the wrong number. Then I was like, huh, like that seems to be weird. That like, how would they get like, how would you get a wrong number doing that? And so I
hmm
just so I like, okay, I'm not answering that. This just seems weird. And over the course of the last, let's say, year, the intensity of and the frequency of those text messages have gone through the roof. Of, hey, I'm running late. Are you, hey, can we meet at 2? Can we meet at 2 o'clock? Are you available at 2 for that Zoom call? For one, I know no one's going to be texting me that sort of stuff. Um, but some of them were like, um, hey, this is so and so from the vet, and we need to make a decision on this treatment for your dog. I can
hmm
imagine any dog owner going, oh my gosh, I don't have a dog. I know you're not my vet, but if my dog were needed an emergency treatment, I'd want to make sure that you know that they knew they got the wrong number. And so it's
hmm
like I feel like they're exploiting, you know, our good nature to try to take advantage. So it's like unfortunately now it's like, no, I just can't respond to text messages, whether they're legitimately misdirected or a scam. I'm just not going to respond to them anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I've gotten to that point too. If I don't know who it is, I generally won't respond. And there's been times when I'm like, that might be somebody that I like used to know, don't have the number anymore, not sure. Usually you can tell it's not because of like it's a completely out of whack area code or something. But I mean, it really depends. There's been some that I've gotten from local area codes, and I'm like, is that a person? Is that a really good spoof? Like, whatever. But again, if you're not expecting it, then it's potentially, not legitimate. So.
My favorite current one is getting messages from the Philippines of, hey, you didn't pay your local toll.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. There's been so many of those. I got one from a state that I've never been to before, and I was like, well,
But it was
so,
like, hey, you didn't pay the California toll, and this is coming from a Philippines telephone number. Like, no.
yeah, don't think so. Like, unless you've got some really crazy, toll stuff, which I,
Or it's outsourced. Like, I
yeah,
could
who
see
was
someone
that
making the
one?
case of like, hey, we are the support center that's been outsourced to the Philippines to follow up on people that have not paid their tolls. Like,
What was
oh,
the
that starts to
city?
become believable at that point.
Is it Chicago? There is a city that outsourced all of its parking payment to it's a different country. I don't
Oh
remember. I
wow.
read about this recently and I don't remember the city or the country, but like I was reading about it and I was like, is this real? But yeah, for the next like they've got some sort of deal where like for the next 15 years all money from parking goes to this country like in exchange for some it's bizarre. I was like, "Oh, so that could be legit." Like, are you kidding me?
With all the outsourcing, you never know. So
Oh,
before we get way too far off topic,
yes, yes.
any additional kind of just good best practices, advice that people should follow before we wrap up here?
Um, again, like just do your due diligence. I would always research things. If you feel like something's legitimate, then try to go around and if you feel like, oh, like I'm getting an email from this legal department of this company, like find the legal department contact information on the company website and then email them or call them. Or same if you think somebody's contacting you, try to find their actual contact information, like kind of circumvent. Don't go directly through that channel. It's kind of like when you get like a phishing email and you think it's your bank, just go to the bank's website
Yeah.
and log in. Don't click on the link in the email, right? Um, so yeah, just staying vigilant with stuff like that. With a lot of the financial fraud, don't put money into a platform you don't know anything about or haven't heard of. Like that's just common sense, but is it? So,
Yeah. But
um,
that's the challenge with some of these scams is uh, a story where I had to interact with someone. They had, through a chat or whatever, had met someone and gone back and forth and heard about this great crypto investment. And so they put money into the platform. And at some point, like the person was saying, hey, you've done well. It'd be good to take some of your money out. And so they took some money out and they got it. And so in their mind, it built this, well, this must be a legitimate platform because if it were a scam, I wouldn't have been able to get my money out. But now that I've gotten a portion of my money out, I now feel safe in putting more money in. And so
mhm.
they dumped in their entire life savings, and all of a sudden the app stops working. They can't get a penny out anymore, and they're left figuring, well, clearly it was some sort of did the company go out of business or was it a scam? Because why is a scammer ever going to give you part of your money back? But that was part of the building trust.
Yeah, yeah, building trust and then kind of, I mean, that was what Bernie Madoff did, wasn't
Yep. Build trust and community referrals of
Yeah.
hey,
And
we trust him. He's made us a lot of money. We took a little bit out, but as long as not everybody tried to get all their money out,
mhm.
no one found out until it got too big.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
also,
and
but he also blamed his victims, saying
then
they should have known that they couldn't get a legitimate return like this. But that's
yeah.
that's awful, and that's a different story.
Yes, yes, it is a very different story. I just made me think of that with the building trust. But yeah, and then as far as cybersecurity goes, very much the same things. Don't click on links in phishing emails. Be very vigilant about phishing. Things along those lines. I think there's a lot of tools out there now that are using AI and things like that for detection. I know we do that for specifically like insider threat and a lot of the other victim to scam things that you might see. So yeah, lots of platforms out there that are doing that kind of thing too. And I think that's hopefully eventually going to help identify and halt these things before they actually happen. So
Gotcha. If people want to connect with you or find out more about what Exabeam does, how can they connect with you?
I am on LinkedIn, my full name, Gabrielle Hempel. Also on X, under Gab Smash. That's my handle on a lot of social media. That's where you can find me. It's another story. But yeah, and then just Exabeam as well. If you don't remember my name, you can reach out to Exabeam and be like, hey, I heard this chick on a podcast. Who was it? And they can direct you to me. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
thank you so much.